Okay, so good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm Fitch Richardson, Head of Marketing here at Glopal. Today is going to be a super quick session on the new EU import tax changes, and we'll try to keep the session under 30 minutes, as we know you're all busy. For those of you who are joining us for the first time and don't know quite who we are, we're a global e-commerce solution that enables e-commerce merchants to expand and grow their sales internationally in a really fast and frictionless way. Our suite of cross-border tools covers everything from international marketing and localization to tax and duty and compliance. Today, I'm joined by two guests that are eminently better placed to talk about this than me. The first is Cyril, our General Counsel here at Glopal. He has a wealth of experience in this space. Cyril will be talking through what the changes are, who they'll affect, and when. Then Patrick, our CEO, is going to talk about the practical steps that you can take to mitigate the impact of these changes and protect your margins. If you've got any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat as we go. We'll store them up and then we'll answer them at the end. We are recording this session, so if you need to drop off or if we end up going over the 30 minutes, don't worry, we'll send through the recording at the end. So right, let's get into it. Cyril, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Fitch. Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you. Again, I'm Cyril. As Fitch explained, I'm in charge of at Glopal as a legal, tax, and international trade aspect. I got more than 20 years of experience in various industry sectors, including petroleum, digital, e-commerce, and retail. So I will try to keep it simple and go to the new change at European level for low-value import goods. Let's start. So what we will talk today, our agenda will be simple on four, let's say, points. First one should be to give you a short reminder about the 2026 timeline that we will be applicable for EU low-value goods imports. Then we will do a focus on the €2 tax applicable in France, and we will move after to the strategy to secure your margin, which is one of the most, for sure, important point for your businesses. And finally, we will conclude the webinar with how Glopal can support your business. Let's start. The timeline. There is different phase that we will go through. The phase one, it's what we call the national early adopters. So two countries, Italy and Romania, has started as per January 1st to implement what we call new handling fees for low-value imports. The idea is clearly to offset the administrative burdens that many European countries are facing to custom clear very low-value goods at the borders. So Romania has implemented a €5 almost convert that it's local Romanian device country and per shipments. So you have to pay to the carrier during the last mile deliveries. It's important to note the last mile deliveries because it's different from the other country, which the tax should be paid at the border. Italy has also implemented a €2 per HS code type. So per HS code also, we will go back further on it, but it's important to note that it's per article and not per parcel, paid during the custom clearance. But recently, last week on March 12, a publication has been released in Italy to say that they will postpone the application of this new tax till the end of June 30. So the end of June this year, sorry. So in fact, what does it mean in practice? So the new tax, which has been calculated since now January 1st, will not be declared on remit to the Italian authorities. The start of the new Italian tax should start as July 1st. France is the third country that start implementing also €2 per HS code as per March 2026. This new tax should be paid during the custom clearance or the VAT declarations, depending about the custom clearance process the seller will realize in France. What will come next is the phase 3. Phase 3, it's the removal of what we call the minimis within Europe. You know that as of today, if you sell goods below €150 in France, it's fall under the rule called the minimis. Then that means that you will only have to pay import VAT, but no duties should be paid during the custom clearance. As per July 1st this year in Europe, all goods below 150 will face a flat fee of €3 per HS code. We will also explain in detail how it will work, but clearly that's one of the key things to keep in mind. And the last phase, what we call phase 4, in fact, is the harmonized EU handling fees. So it's planned to be released in November this year. The deadline should be normally 31 December this year, so before the end of the year. These new handling fees at European level will replace the phase 1 and phase 2. In practice, phase 1 and phase 2 is just a sort of transition till the application of the new handling fees in Europe. But what you need to keep in mind, which is really important, is that the combination of phase 3 and 4, it's create a EU frameworks. In practice, that means that you will accumulate and combine the cost, so the €3 duty rate minimis plus €2 handling tax. So keep it simple. You have one goods cents below €150. You should have to pay €3 for duties and €2 for handling fees. So it's €5 on top of the price of your goods. Let's try now to move to France. So France, as I explained before, new start date, it's March 1st, 2026. So almost three weeks ago, we start the implementation of this new tax. It should be stopped, as I said, when the new handling fees at European level will be in force. What's the scope of the tax? So this tax is applicable for all non-EU imports below €150, but for all type of transactions, including B2B, B2C, and C2C. There is also let's say, small exemption regarding goods which are VAT exempt. I will not go further detail because it's quite, let's say, specific to different regime. The tax is €2 per item, what we call HS6. So HS6, it's customs at 6 digits. So HS code, it's really the classification of the goods, and it's something that it's only used for custom clearance of goods. What's after the scope? So geographically, France, it's a little bit, let's say, beyond what we can see. It's not only the France, what we call metropolitan, it's a little bit beyond. So you will have to include also Monaco. You will have to include Guadeloupe, Martinique, Réunion, which is called Dom in France. So if you are selling goods to those French territories, you need also to apply the tax. Who is a taxable person? That's also the second, let's say, element to keep into considerations. So the person liable for import VAT is the one mentioned in the custom declarations is liable for the new tax. Let's deep dive the taxable person because the taxable person and the tax remittance will depend on different elements. Most of your customers are selling with IOSS regime, so import one-stop shop. That's the definition of the IOSS. Import one-stop shop was created as per July 1st, 2021, and it's a specific European regime that permits to just register your company within one country in Europe, and then from these countries, you will declare every imports you realize in all the 27 countries at European level. So it's a simplification process. You don't need to register in all countries and you don't need to pay VAT in each country. So scenario 1, you are registered in France for IOSS. You periodically declare some returns in France. Then you will have to continue declaring your returns, but with the French portal called impot.gouv, and the French portal, it's a specific one. So you need to use this portal to declare the new tax. It's an extra declaration. You cannot declare the tax within your current IOSS declaration. That's important to know. Scenario 2 is that, for example, you are registered for IOSS, but not in France. You could be maybe if you are based in UK, I imagine that most of you have maybe a registration in Ireland. Then if you are registered in Ireland, you will have, for declaring the French tax, to registered for VAT in France to access the French portal, which start being more complex because you need to do an administrative procedures. It's not so complex at all, but it needs to be understood and it needs to be prepared to do so. Let's say that you want to avoid it and say, okay, I will now start selling DDU, so delivery duty unpaid. So what does it mean in practice is that you, buyer in France, will become the importer of the tax. So you will send the goods, French customs authority will receive the goods, your carrier will do everything to collect the tax. But what does it mean in practice? In fact, your carrier will have to collect the tax, import VAT, duties, if any, but as we are below 150, there is no duties, and the new tax of €2 per article. In reality, your carrier will not do that for free, as you know. So they will potentially bill you a charge that we estimate between 5 to 10 euros for the collection of the service. So if you add everything to the collection of the tax, you will see that the delivery of a parcel with DDU will potentially cost at least 7 to more than 12 or 14 euros to your buyer to just custom clear the goods and receive them at their door. Let's move to an example. Maybe it should be more, let's say, or it should be speechless for you and it should be better to understand. So let's take an example. You have a parcel below 150s, value 130 euros, and it's only two different HS codes. Three type of goods, but two different HS codes. Maybe one dress and two t-shirts. Your new calculation said two different HS code, it's €2 per HS code. So the tax has been calculated at €4. Are you using the IOSS regime as I explained before? Let's say no. So you send them directly. So the new tax should be added on the taxable basis. What does it mean in practice? That the €4, in fact, it's not only four, it's €4 multiplied by 20%, because in fact you need to add the VAT. So you will get, in fact, in reality, 4.8 euros to be added to the retail price. If you use IOSS, two different scenarios, you can include also the taxable basis if you don't want to absorb the cost. So in that scenario, it should arrive to the same calculation, 4 euros plus VAT. If you want to absorb the cost and say, okay, I will keep the cost internally, maybe I will use my margin to absorb it, then you can exclude it from the taxable basis and you don't have to apply VAT, which is fully normal because you will not rebill the cost to your buyer. So I hope you understand the French and the other information as of today. So I will now move to some alternative, how to mitigate or to avoid the new French tax. It's also, these alternatives are also, let's say, applicable for Italy and not for Romania, because Romania is the last mile delivery, as I explained, so you cannot really avoid it in Romania. So for France and Italy, the idea is, and we already saw it because it's now almost famous in France. Many newspaper, many let's say news and TV show also explain that most of the sellers are using alternative to avoid the new tax. So how it works in practice? Instead of directly importing your goods, maybe let's say from UK to France, you can import them from UK to Netherlands or from UK to Belgium, and then you do the custom clearance in Netherlands or in Belgium. You will not have to pay the €2, but after you do intra-community movement to move your good by trucks or by any other, maybe by train, directly to the end customer in France. With this scenario, you will avoid the €2. It's not, let's say, a tax erosion or tax evasion. It's just a loophole within the legislation. And this loophole will stop to be applicable as the new handling fees at European level will be enforced, so around November, December this year. The second alternative, if you need or if you want to continue importing by France, is in fact to use our services, Glopal service and Glopal solutions. Because as Glopal is registered for IOSS in France, we will take care of the collection of the import VAT in France for you. You don't have to register, and we'll also take care of the collections and the remittance of this new tax because we are also VAT registered in France. So using our solution will permit you to just continue importing directly to France, so maintain maybe the delivery timeline you want with your customers. Don't change your current, let's say, logistic flow. Third, you have to pay the €2, but we will manage it for you. So it should be, let's say, frictionless in terms of administrative burdens linked to those taxes. Patrick, now I think it's up to you to explain.
Thanks, Cyril. Hi, everyone. I'm Patrick Smardensky, co-founder of Glopal. As Fitch said, our mission is to make it seamless for you to sell all around the world. So that being said, for the specific European changes, we've developed two solutions that can help you, of course, to expand or to still sell internationally, specifically in Europe, and to keep your margins. So first, what we call the tax shield solution. Basically, we operate as a deemed supplier. So as Cyril said, basically, what we can do for you is that we can calculate in real time tax and duties. So for instance, recently, as we said, Italy had put on hold the €2 or €3 tax. So basically, in the checkout of some of our customers, we were adding the €3 tax, and within 24 hours, when the update has been announced, we just removed it. So at least you make sure that if any change happen in real time, basically we will also apply those changes. So we will secure your margin to make sure you do not lose any money. So it works in Europe, but it also works around the world. Also in the US, as we know, there is a lot of change around tariffs and so on. So we are monitoring that in real time. And if there are any change, we guarantee you'll always have the right amount of tax and duties calculated. Second, of course, we can help you to make sure in your checkout, basically, you collect this additional tax. So here you have two solutions, or you want to add one additional line in your checkout that we can add automatically to your checkout to collect those additional fees, or you want to include that directly in your prices. And if you include that directly in your prices, we can make sure that when you declare your tax, VAT, and so on, it's done in an optimized way so that you pay the right amount of, again, of tax and duties. And finally, we'll remit as we are registered in France, Europe, but also in most countries where you need to register around the world. We can remit those tax for you with our own global tax ID. So you don't have to register, you don't have to monitor those tax and duties updates. We take this burden out of you, I would say. On the second part, let's say on the shipping workflow part, we can help you also to optimize your margin. First, we haven't mentioned it yet, but basically what we do for some of our customers, we set up what we call a B2B2C process. So if you have an entity in Europe, or you can set up an entity in Europe, basically what we can do is that we can consolidate your parcels in a virtual pallet. So this is done virtually by basically adapting your shipping advice or custom invoice. And by doing that, basically, we declare at the custom, let's say a pallet with virtual pallet, at least with the sum of all your goods to be above €150. And in this case, you won't have to pay those extra duties or handling fees for those below €150 items. So that can be a good solution for the merchant doing some significant volumes, because it can be worth setting up an entity in Europe or using one of your existing entity to do that. And it doesn't add much to the shipping time, because it's done with some shipping partner directly through what they call like a break bulk service, where basically, it doesn't have to go through a warehouse. Still, the the shippings are going directly from your warehouse directly to the buyers in Europe, for instance. Second, what we can do also, as Cyril said, we can help you to easily set up custom clearance, for instance, through Netherlands. So this way you will avoid at least those temporary fees that applies in France. So a lot of larger merchants are doing that, but basically we can help you to do that for any size of merchants. That's pretty easy to set up. And finally, what we can help you with also is on the duty drawback part, because basically if you have significant returns volumes, we can, as we also generate, archive all the documents and so on, then we can automate the process basically to get the duty reimbursed when you get a proof of returns. This takes a few months to get reimbursed, but again, if you have a significant volume of returns, it can be worth doing that. Obviously, so those are specific solution for Europe, but as I said, we can help you, of course, to set this up for different parts of countries all around the world. So feel free to contact us to see potentially how we could help you with that. Now I propose we move to the Q&A session.
Okay, all right. So we've had quite a few questions actually. Before we jump into that, I just want to draw your attention to the fact that we have another webinar coming up on the 31st of March, which is with Fairtex. For those of you that aren't familiar with them, they're like a super famous combat sports brand, and they'll be talking about how they launched across 20 new markets with Glopal. So if it sounds relevant, you can register using the QR code up there. So I'll leave that on the screen when we go through the Q&A. Like I say, there are quite a few questions here. We're doing okay for time, so we should be able to get through those. If we don't get to any of them, or there's anything that we can't answer on the session right now, we will answer it, and then we'll distribute those answers to everyone on the call as well. All right. So first up, now this is from Liam. We've never had to classify low-value products before. How important is HS code accuracy, and what's the risk if we get it wrong? Is that one for you, Patrick?
I think, Cyril, you'll be more granular on this one.
Yeah, no problem. I can answer this one. So that's a good question. In fact, yeah, as explained during the webinar, as of today, you don't need really to focus about the classification of the low-value goods because there was no duty involved. As per July 1st, you will start to implement a €3 flat fee. So again, classification start becoming a real asset, because if you wrong classify your goods, you will have to maybe implement the wrong customs duty to be paid. So as a flat fee as July 1st, you still have time to, let's say, fine-tuning your classification, but I would recommend starting doing a proper classification, just first to avoid to pay different HS code if not needed. So it will for sure avoid to pay an extra €3 per goods. But in reality, the main things is that to keep in mind, as per July 1st, 2028, so in 2 years now, you will have to calculate it with the regular duty rate. So it will for sure change from the €3, and you may have to pay an extra X% of your goods. So the classification for low value goods must be taken into considerations. And as Patrick explained, we have in our solutions also an HS code classifications tools that will support your needs, and we can classify all your goods low value or above 150.
Awesome, thank you. All right, so the next one comes from Alistair. If we sell on Amazon France and fulfill from the UK, we use the Amazon IOSS number and not our own IOSS number. Who needs to declare these sales of the €2 liability?
Normally, the €2 liability should be declared by Amazon, and you will have to check with Amazon how they will collect the €2 or more, let's say, based on your transactions. So it's clearly, I will recommend, let's say, to discuss with Amazon. Quite sure Amazon has some really prepare, let's say, FAQ page that explain it clearly or in detail. But if not the case, I will recommend to contact your account manager with Amazon and just let them know that you want to get clarification.
Cool. All right, thank you. Okay, now this one's from Sarah. We're working on a pricing strategy for the second half of the year. Should we be absorbing these costs, passing them on, or is there a better way to think about it?
I think it's maybe you, Patrick, this one.
Yeah. So it's a question about pricing strategy. So it depends, I would say, of your margin. If you can afford, of course, subsidizing those costs, it makes sense to absorb those costs. If you have tight margin, and it makes sense that you add this additional line into your checkout. So it's case by case. It's hard to. We can't give like a one general rule. What is sure is that you'll get a better conversion rate if you basically include those additional tax and duties directly in your prices. That's for sure. You'll get a better conversion rate. However, in some cases, you can't always afford to integrate that in your prices. So it depends a bit of your margin and a bit of the elasticity as well of your prices. If you are, let's say, in a very competitive category, you may don't be able to play too much with your price increase.
Okay, thank you. All right, this one's from Laura. It says, is the €2 handling fee definitely coming on top of the €3 duty? Are we realistically looking at both hitting the same shipment by the end of the year?
I will jump in for this one. Clearly, Laura, you're right. It should be adding to the €3. So you will start with the €3, but again, the €3 will not be, let's say, alone. Like, for example, in France, as per July 1st, you will combine €3 plus €2. So in fact, in reality, you will start implementing the 3 plus 2 as of July 1st and not at the end of the year. But the real questions behind is, can we avoid it? No, after the implementation of the €3 plus the European handling fees at €2, you cannot avoid anymore, except if you do some bulk import, as Patrick explained.
Okay, cool. We've got 2 questions, which I'll try and rush through because we're almost on time. And actually, there is a question about the bulk thing, which is probably a good one to end on. So this is from Eleanor. Does the €3 duty apply per parcel or per product type? We often ship mixed orders, so I want to understand how that stacks up.
So in fact, you need first to look at the parcel value. Parcel value still be below €150. If it's not the case, you will not apply the €3 and the €2 because you are above the 150. So the threshold is the low value goods in Europe. But if your parcel is below 150, and as in my example I explained, you have, let's say, 3 different articles, you will have to apply 3 times. It's 3 different HS code, exactly. You will have to apply 3 times the tax. So 3 multiplied by €3 for the duty as per July 1st, plus €2 multiplied by 3. So in fact, in this scenario, you will have €9 as duty plus €6 as tax. So €15 for a parcel below 150. So more or almost 10% of the value of your parcel, which is a real, I think, game changer in terms of cost of delivery in Europe.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is the last question from Tony. If you use the break bulk model, aren't you then liable for duty on all of the sub €150 orders within the bulk shipment as the bulk is over €150? Do you want me to repeat?
No? In reality, if you send with bulk, like Patrick explained, so you do a virtual pallet, you send all your goods within a single, let's say, shipment, which will be above the 150 for sure. You don't have to, let's say, pay the specific €3 fee or €2 tax because it should not be considered anymore as a low value goods. But instead, you will have to come to the regular custom clearance, what is called at European level. It's a bit technical, but few sellers I'm sure will be aware of. It's called H1. And with this H1 custom declarations, you will have to declare your goods and pay the relevant potential duties, if any, based on the value of your pallets and not one-by-one goods. So in reality, you will avoid in one hand part of the new taxations, but you may have to pay for the other one.
You may have, because there are, of course, a lot of agreements between the UK, for instance, and Europe. where basically you don't have to pay any duties on your goods, especially if some are produced in Europe or in the UK. So in this case, basically, yes, you can move from paying the 3 plus 2 euros to 0, basically by moving to this bulk what we call B2B2C model, basically. So this is something to be calculated, and sometimes even if you have some duties to be paid, sometimes those duties can be lower than those 5 euros on your goods. So that's something to calculate. We have a lot of, we have some tools to estimate that automatically. So feel free to get in touch with us. Of course, there's no commitment, but we can run those tools for you and basically do some simulation of what's the best, the optimal scenario for you.
Okay, awesome. So that's everything from us today. So a huge thank you to Cyril and Patrick for sharing their time and expertise, and thank you, of course, for all of you joining. We hope that's given you a clearer picture of what's coming and more importantly, what you can do about it. If you do want some advice on your particular setup, then feel free to reach out to us at glopal.com and we can set up a one-to-one and go through your specific challenges. We'll be sending a recording of today's session to everyone that registered, so keep an eye out for that in your inbox. And thanks again, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.